like years back, when I was in the media a lot, I was on television, I was viral, my name was out there a lot. You know, he came hating back then. I think he just a hating ass nigga, man. Like anybody that's doing good within the Black and Latino community, he start hating on them. You know what I mean? He never does it to people from other walks of life though, which is very interesting. Back then he, you know, like I said, I was constantly in the media, just doing my thing, and he came on my page with a little.
What if I told you that a man just publicly referred to his current wife as a past relationship while still being legally married to her? Yeah, let that sit for a second, because that's exactly what just happened, and somehow that's not even the craziest part of this entire situation. What we're looking at right now is a full-blown mess involving Papoose, Remy Ma, Claressa Shields, 50 Cent, and Vlad TV, all tied together in a situation that feels confusing, inconsistent, and honestly, a little calculated. And the more you look into it, the more it starts to feel like something behind the scenes just isn't adding up the way it should. So let's start from the top, because this all really picked up steam once that Papoose interview finally dropped.
Time went by, he did it again. You know what I'm saying? The second time, I ain't say nothing about it. I let it go. It's cool. Third time, I said, nah, I'm tired of this nigga now. So I shitted on him. And we had like a little back and forth. It went viral in the media back then, a couple years
People
back.
had been waiting on it, especially after all the online tension. And the moment it came out, it started gaining traction fast. But before you even get deep into what he's saying, there's already a red flag sitting right there in plain sight. In the video description, Claressa Shields is referred to as his wife. Now hold on, since when? Because as far as anyone knows, he is still legally married to Remy Ma. That's not speculation, that's fact. So right out of the gate, we've got a narrative being pushed that doesn't line up with reality, and that's where the confusion starts turning into something bigger. It's not just messy, it feels careless, like someone is trying to rewrite the situation before the truth fully catches up.
I'm not one of them guys, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, we went back and forth back then. A lot of people was like, yo, leave it alone. Time went on, 2026. Here we go again. Him hating again.
Okay, so January 1st, 2026. You're waking up, New Year's Eve is the night before, and your phone is blowing up.
Yeah, man. The dude got like 39 million followers, man. So when somebody with that many followers...
Now, if we rewind a bit, this whole thing didn't just come out of nowhere. The tension really escalated after Papoose reacted to comments suggesting he might be hesitant or even scared to fully commit to Claressa Shields. And whatever was said clearly hit a nerve, because his response wasn't subtle at all. That's when things started to spiral, especially once 50 Cent got involved. And if you know anything about 50, you already know. When he steps into a situation, he doesn't just observe, he amplifies it. Suddenly, what might have stayed a small online issue turned into a full-blown public spectacle, with multiple people jumping in, different narratives forming, and everybody trying to control how the story is being told. But here's where things start to get shaky, because the timelines don't match. Claressa Shields went on record saying that the issue between Papoose and 50 Cent officially kicked off on January 1st, 2026. She stood on that date like it was solid, no room for debate. But when you actually listen to Papoose's version, he starts referencing moments that trace all the way back to 2018. That's a huge gap. We're talking about 50 Cent commenting on Remy Ma's weight loss years ago, something that had nothing to do with the current situation at the time. So now the question becomes, why is that being brought into a 2026 conflict like it just happened?
So I said, you know what, because he disrespected both of us when he made the post. So I told her, I said, ignore it, man, don't even pay that no attention, because she was in training camp for a fight. So I said, just focus on your fight, don't even entertain it, I got it, let me handle it. I shits back on him on the gram. And then when I shitted on him on the gram, we went back and forth. And I think later on that day, she ended up saying something to him anyway, so it just turned into a whole back and forth.
Well, I actually looked it up. He took the movie MMA, Black Sister's Revenge. It's an old blaxploitation film from 1976. And he put her face into the woman's dialogue and your face into the man's, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
I never loved you. And all.
When timelines don't match, it changes how everything should be viewed. It starts to feel less like a clear story and more like pieces being rearranged to fit a certain narrative. And then there's the shift in energy, which might be the most telling part of all this. Because if you've been paying attention to Papoose over the years, this doesn't feel like the same person. Before, his image was built around loyalty, consistency, and staying grounded, especially when it came to his relationship with Remy Ma. He wasn't chasing attention or inserting himself into viral moments. But now, everything seems centered around visibility. What's trending, what's getting views, what's keeping his name circulating. And that shift just so happens to align perfectly with his current situation involving Claressa Shields. That's not something people are imagining, it's something you can actually see in how he moves now compared to before.
False narrative out there, which everybody who know me, man, y'all know, they know how I am. You know what I'm saying? So I think my character and what I do as an individual, as a person, as a man, always spoke for itself. You know what I mean? You didn't see the false narrative until after the back and forth that I had, you know what I mean, with my past relationship. So after that, people ran with the false narrative.
One moment that really stands out is how he reacted to that edited video involving him and Clarissa. At first, he framed it as disrespectful, like it crossed a line. But then, during the interview, he's laughing about it. Not slightly amused, actually laughing. And that creates a contradiction that's hard to ignore. Because if something genuinely bothered you, that energy doesn't just flip like that. So now it raises a different question. Was it ever really about disrespect, or was it about the attention that came with it? Because from the outside, it starts to look like he saw an opportunity to insert himself into a viral moment, especially since it involved someone like 50 Cent, who already commands massive attention online.
And this is what he does, man. A lot of people don't, this dude is a funny dude, man. Like, he'll post something disrespectful about a person, and then when they respond, he takes his down real quick. So while you're responding, all of his little dick riders and minions and bots that he got programmed to do what they do, they start saying, oh, why are you cloud chasing? Oh, you better leave 50 alone, because when he respond, you're not going to be able to handle it. Because when they go to his page, he done removed his post. So he got like some weird way to entrap you into saying something to him. And it looks like
And once that pressure came from 50, everything seemed to shift again. The energy changed. The back and forth slowed down and Papoose stepped back. But Claressa Shields didn't. She leaned all the way in. She started engaging directly, responding, going back and forth publicly, and that dynamic didn't go unnoticed. Because from the outside, it looked like she felt the need to step up in a situation where he wasn't fully standing on it anymore. That alone says a lot, because when roles start shifting like that in public, people are going to question what's really going on behind the scenes.
Me and him got into a back and forth. Eventually, she said something to him. Because, you know, she's viral damn near every day. For different reasons, whatever. Then, some other individual who be on the gram hating all day doing some weird shit, when it made a video, yeah, it was bullshit. You seen the picture that he posted?
An old picture of him.
Yeah, it was an old picture. She got plenty of beautiful pictures when she's prepared for it, not when she's coming out of the ring or after a fight or just trying to be funny.
But the part that really pushed this into another level of messy is the way Remy Ma was addressed. Calling her a past relationship while still being legally married isn't just a slip of words, that's a statement. And there's no clean way to spin that. Because if she's truly in the past, then why hasn't the divorce been finalized? What's actually stopping that from happening? That's the question people keep coming back to, and it's a valid one. You can't speak like something is over while still being tied to it legally. It just doesn't work like that. And the more that question lingers without a clear answer, the more it fuels speculation. What makes it even more interesting is how everything Remy Ma said previously is starting to line up with what people are seeing now. At the time, she faced a lot of criticism. People labeled her as bitter, jealous, emotional, all of that. But looking back, some of the claims she made about his behavior are starting to reflect in real time. And when past statements start matching present actions, it changes how those statements are perceived. Suddenly, it doesn't look like exaggeration. It starts to look like early warning. Then there's the contrast in how Papoose reacts depending on who's being discussed, and this might be the clearest indicator of all.
When the conversation shifts to Remy Ma, his tone changes. He gets serious, more controlled, almost guarded. But when it's about Claressa Shields, especially in situations where she's being joked about, he's noticeably more relaxed, even entertained. That difference in energy doesn't go unnoticed, and it raises questions about where he actually stands emotionally in both situations. Because consistency matters, especially when everything is playing out this publicly. At this point, the bigger question becomes, what is this really about? Is this genuinely about personal conflict in relationships, or is it about attention, visibility, and staying relevant in a space where drama drives engagement? Because the way everything is unfolding, it's starting to feel less like a private situation spilling into public view, and more like a public moment being managed in real time. And if that's the case, then everything we're seeing might only be part of the story. And the truth is, this situation is far from over. If anything, this feels like the beginning of something that's only going to get more complicated as more pieces come out. Because there are still gaps, still unanswered questions, and still a lot of energy shifting in ways that don't fully make sense yet. So now it really comes down to perspective, how you interpret what's being shown versus what might actually be happening behind the scenes. So the real question is, what do you think is going on here? Who's controlling the narrative and who's just reacting to it? Because one thing is clear, this isn't as simple as it looks. And if you've been paying attention, you already know it's only going to get crazier from here.